Welcome to Encounter, where we celebrate putting faith into action and community leaders who live out compassion, grace, and love. We're a program of the Broome County Council of Churches that addresses food insecurity through Chow and the Greater Good Grocery, provides hospital and jail ministry, builds wheelchair ramps, and assists neighbors with transportation and shopping services through Faith in Action volunteers. We invite you to the conversation. Encounter your neighbors as we learn to walk together in love and kindness. Thank you. Good morning and welcome to this week's edition of Encounter. I'm, for the time being, your host, Jeff Kellam. I serve as the Parish Associate at the Union Presbyterian Church in Endicott, a very imposing, huge granite stone building, but very warm inside and progressively faithful, if I do say so myself, or faithfully progressive. Seasons are changing, and we know that just because, look, I'm wearing a sweater today. As we prepare ourselves for the onset of winter, I thought it might be interesting to have a guest, Rick Marsi, who writes the Ranger Report. Smile, Rick.
Hey there, buddy. Good to be here.
We've been talking about how we appear on TV and on the radio. Welcome.
Thank you so much.
Welcome back. Rick
my pleasure.
One of my favorite guests because we can talk about things of nature, the beauty of the world around us, God's creation. And every Saturday in my email, and you can get it too, is the Ranger Report. Used to be published back when the published things were published, and now it's coming by email. You write this every week, and I do a jazz show every week, and I find a theme every week. How do you find your theme? What is it that spurs your column on Saturdays?
What's happening usually around in the natural world. Yeah. That's usually what triggers it.
Yeah.
It's not just a column. I wrote a column for the newspaper in Binghamton for almost 45 years. This is more than a column because now I have email and I can expand. So I write a column, timely.
Yeah.
Seasonal, and then there are 3 or 4 additional segments. One is called My Back Pages, where I'll paw through my diaries and go to November and pick something that happened 25 years ago in November. Maybe one is called The Road Less Traveled, and I'll remember. I've taken thousands of pictures in my life, I'll focus on a road in the Peruvian Andes or some place like that with photographs. So
right.
It allows me to expand on the and offer more than just a column.
Yeah, and the photographs, you were limited in the newspaper, but in the email, the column plus, photographs are just beautiful. The birds, and then the one on leaves, raking leaves and your neighbors and so on. And I know we've just gone through this in our neighborhood with a guy coming and trying to pick up all the leaves, and I thought, I used to just grind them up. I just took my lawnmower and just mulched them into the yard.
Yeah.
What do you rake them all and burn them, or what?
I have a vacuum that's one of these backpack type vacuums.
Yeah.
And I vacuum leaves off the yard, and the vacuum chews them up. And then I put them on my garden as mulch.
Yep, so it's recycling the leaves.
Yeah. But of course, that column I wrote was about, and everybody in every neighborhood in the Northeast has had a neighbor like this, and maybe one of our listeners this morning is that neighbor, but he's got an anal fixation on getting every leaf that falls off his yard, so he's out there every day with rakes and blowers and vacuums.
Yeah.
And just as he gets all that done, a squall comes in off Lake Ontario and blows all his neighbor's leaves, who the neighbor hasn't touched them all, fall over into his yard. And of course there's a heart attack ensues and bad neighborly relations ensue as well.
Now, if he's that anal about it may be the first time we've used that word on this program. About leaves, what about dandelions in the spring?
Pretty much the same way. Don't you love it when you drive through a neighborhood and you see that elderly gentleman out there, and he's got his little prong, and he's meticulously spearing every dandelion. That is such a futile endeavor, but if it's what floats your boat.
Yeah. When we lived in Vermont, dandelions were a sign that the thaw had finally come, and people almost celebrated these yellow blossoms throughout their yards. Vermont, we lived in Virginia for many, many years when springtime was just magical. I mean, dogwoods and azaleas, just splendid.
Red buds.
Yes, it was just wonderful. And then Vermont was very different because it was like one day the snow melted, the next day everything greened up and then yellowed up because all the dandelions came. Nobody worried about the dandelions in that Northeast Kingdom area, the rural area of Vermont. Well, let's talk about, here we are on the cusp of winter. Fall is leading into winter, and maybe people are, like me, I'm about to go buy some more suet for the bird feeders. Tell me about your feeding of birds what kind of seed do you use, and how important it is to feed birds in the wintertime?
I think it's very important to feed birds if you like birds, because studies have shown that after the explosion of bird feeding, let's say in the last 30 or 40 years, the number of chickadees and nuthatches and titmice and downy woodpeckers, all the birds that spend the winter here, their numbers are up because they've been allowed the luxury of free food because of bird feeding. It's hard to make a living as a chickadee if you don't have a bird feeder in the neighborhood. Think about it.
Yeah.
They have to find seeds, or they can poke around under the bark of trees and look for insect hibernators or the eggs that insects have laid that are overwintering. It's tough. So if you put a feeder out, you're making it life a lot easier for our local winter songbirds.
Right. Someone had said that feeding birds during the summer is kind of like providing welfare, that they don't, the birds can find the food on their own if they go out and look for it, but you're just kind of making it easier for them. But during the winter, it's a necessity, I guess.
They would survive. 200 years ago, nobody fed the birds, and they survived. But in summer, it's an indulgence for people.
Yeah.
There's plenty of natural food out there, and I don't feed the birds in the summer.
Right.
One major change in bird feeding over the last 30 or 40 years here in Broome County is black bears. And in the summer, I don't feed the birds because I don't have to, and don't want to encourage bears. Yeah. I live in a forested area, and I have bears around. Yeah. So come winter, at this stage, Thanksgiving, my modus operandi is I have a post in the yard, and it's far enough away from trees so that squirrels can't jump on it. And it has a baffle that prevents the squirrels from climbing up. So it's squirrel proof.
Right.
And on the top of the pole, I have a 2 by 2 foot square piece of plywood. And it's not attached to the top of the pole. It just sits there.
Right.
And on top of this 2 by 2 foot square piece of plywood, I put a brick. And I put a brick there because when I pour seed onto the platform, if I get 3 or 4 blue jays landing on that platform at the same time and there's no brick, they'll tip it.
Right.
And the reason I do that whole thing is the bears are still awake.
Yeah.
So at night, if a bear comes and he reaches up, he'll just knock the platform over. And normally at the end of the day, I make kind of ration the seed so by dark, that platform's empty. But if he does, it just falls to the ground.
Yeah.
I don't have an expensive bird feeder up there that he's going to maul.
Oh, we've had bird feeders disappear into the woods. We've had bird feeders left in the yard after they've been ravaged by the bear. The strength of these bears to tear these bird feeders open is just incredible.
Yeah.
And then you're right that by your process means you'll knock that that feeder over, but the pole stands.
The pole stands. It's just a piece of plywood.
Yep.
I get up in the morning, I put it back, and
Yeah, because we've had
no harm done.
poles pulled out of the ground, and we've had poles bent. But in our neighborhood, the bear seems to come through once in the springtime and once in the fall. That used to be the case. Now, more frequently, the bear is coming through. And I thought, well, I don't think of bears as hibernating. I mean, I guess they go to sleep for the winter, but they don't change territory, do they?
They have a very large territory. They're big animals. They need a lot of food, and so they are foraging miles.
Yeah.
So you could have a bear come and not see him for 2 months. However, they get habituated. If you have a feeder and the bear comes and finds food and you put the feeder back up, that bear's going to come back. That bear's going to remember, hey, I'm going to check Kellam's place again and see if he's dumb enough to put seed out right after I crashed his place.
Yeah.
So it's really a good idea to avoid the whole thing if you can.
And you know, that memory thing, I've heard that hummingbirds will come back the next year and know where the feeders were. Is that right?
Yeah, and many viewers, I'm sure, have had the same experience I have had, and that is May 6th or May 7th. I'm thinking about maybe I should put my hummingbird feeders out, but I don't. And we have one of these suction cup feeders that's on the window right in front of the kitchen sink.
Right.
And I'll be doing some dishes, and all of a sudden, there he is, staring at the suction place where the feeder was last year.
Would have been, that's right.
So you know that this is a bird that was either an adult last year and has come back, or a juvenile that's making his first trip back. But oh yeah, they remember where it is.
Isn't that odd? Well, and I've seen birds come back if I've taken the feeder down for some reason. The birds will come back and sit on the pole, kind of just looking in the window saying, okay, Kellam, it's time to come and feed me. Speaking of that, you talked about the placement, not near trees so the squirrels won't jump on it, but you also don't want it too close to the windows, because the birds will fly from the hummingbird or from the feeders and hit the window thinking they see the reflection of the sky. Is there a formula for how far away that pole should be?
I don't think there's an absolute formula. The trick is to block or break up the reflection that they see. And there are a number of things you can do to do that. The simplest one is decals. If you go online or go to an outdoor store, you're going to be able to find decals that you can place on the window on the inside, and that breaks up that reflection. You're right, these birds look into the window and they see whatever's reflected, the forest, the sky, and they think, oh, I can fly right through there. Yeah. But if you have a couple of decals up, and these decals are very pretty, you can buy hummingbirds, 6 inches square, you can buy sunflowers, butterflies, and so every window in my house is decaled if it doesn't have a screen on it.
Right. Right.
And that does a pretty good job. There are other people put strings down and all sorts of stuff to break up the reflection.
My son is an ornithologist and said that even when the bird hits the window, if sometimes the window impact kills the bird. I mean, you find the bird on the ground under the window, but he said even if it doesn't immediately hit and die, it's still injured, and some of these birds aren't going to survive anyway.
And some do.
Yeah.
It's really rather amazing. It depends, of course, on the speed, the angle.
Yeah.
If they're not flying, and that may be one reason why it's not bad to have a feeder close to the window, because when the bird takes off, he doesn't have enough time to get up enough speed to really hurt himself.
Right.
But if they are not killed, sometimes they're stunned. Yeah. And you can actually, I've watched them on the ground, and it takes about 10 minutes, and all of a sudden they sort of come out of a coma.
Right.
And the last one I watched was a hairy woodpecker right below the window. And I watched and I watched and I watched, and finally his eyes opened just a little bit. But he just sat on the ground. He sat on the ground. He sat on the ground. And finally I thought, well, I'm going to go out, and maybe if he sees me, that'll trigger something. And I walked out, and
Gone.
Yeah,
Yep.
it took right off.
Yep.
So they can survive a blunt force if it's not
Yes.
head on.
And if there's not a cat in the neighborhood walking
Absolutely.
around.
Let's not go there.
Outdoor cats.
Yeah.
So we've been talking about birds, and I mentioned the hummingbirds coming back from their migration. We have Canada geese in the water behind our house, and man, I'll tell you, they raised a ruckus for a few weeks as they were getting ready to fly away. It's been pretty quiet back there recently. Migratory birds. Again, if you watch any Nature Channel stuff, it's fascinating to see how far they fly without ever stopping over water. It's amazing. And
Yeah.
you must be fascinated by this too.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I give a lot of slide lectures, and one of them is called The Mystery of Migration, and it talks about all the wonderful attributes that these birds have. Imagine that hummingbird.
Yeah.
He's in your yard from May to September, and then all of a sudden he's gone. Where did he go? He's flying from the Triple Cities, central New York. He'll fly down to Louisiana. It might take him a couple of days.
Yeah.
When he gets there, he's tired, or she. And so that hummingbird will stage, as they call it, for 3 or 4 days a week maybe, filling up, tanking, getting fat reserves.
Yeah.
And then he's on the Gulf Coast. Let's say he's in Galveston, Texas, or New Orleans, or
Right,
someplace like
right.
that. All of a sudden, one day he decides, well, it's time, and he takes off, and he flies across the Gulf of Mexico. That's about 450 miles, non-stop,
Sure.
a hummingbird.
Yeah.
And he's headed to Mexico, where he'll spend the winter, and he reverses that trend in April and May, and by golly, there he is in your yard again. This tiny little speck.
Yeah.
That
yeah.
is a miracle.
Yeah. Well, it is. And I'm going to look at these hummingbirds now with different eyes when they come to
They
my
are
feeder
amazing creatures.
and realize that hummingbird has seen a lot more miles
Oh
than I
my
have.
gosh. And
Yeah.
and we don't know it because we don't see it. But let's take a night in early October, and the wind shifts to the northwest. That to a bird wanting to fly south is a tailwind. Pushing, making
Yeah.
it easier. You're not going to find that hummingbird in the teeth of a south wind saying, hey, this is a great day to migrate south. I got to beat my wings into 20-mile-an-hour wind. So
Yeah.
on this particular night in October, the wind shifts to the northwest, 15 to 20 miles an hour. That's a good wind. On that night, if you had a radar screen pointed to the sky over your house in central New York,
Yeah.
you would see countless thousands of songbirds flying south from Canada or the Adirondacks or wherever over your house in Binghamton or Endicott or Owego, heading south. Millions of birds every fall
On the
fly
radar,
south.
it would look like a cloud.
It does, and technology now allows people to see, and there are websites where you can go, and they'll say, where do you live?
Right.
Okay, and last night, 28,456 songbirds flew over your house.
That's incredible.
They haven't figured out quite yet how to identify them.
Right.
Robin, starling, but give it time, and
Yeah.
I'm sure that will come to pass.
You mentioned the hummingbird over the ocean, and we were on a cruise in, I guess it was August, and we out in the middle of the ocean, and a bird is sitting on the railing of the ship. And Joan said, all I could think of was what a lucky bird that is to have found the ship to rest on.
Happens all the time.
Yeah, yeah.
They'll see a ship, they're exhausted, and plunk right down on the deck and
Yeah.
rest.
Yeah, and it's there for quite some time. Okay, my guest today is Rick Marsi, who is the author of the Ranger Report, and you can receive it. Now, how do people get the Ranger Report?
They send me an email and say, put me on your list for the Ranger Report.
And would you share your email with us?
Absolutely. It's rmarsi, M-A-R-S-I, rmarsi at STNY, like Southern Tier, New York, stny.rr.com. rmarsi at stny.rr.com. It's free.
Yeah.
It's private.
Yeah.
You know, your email doesn't get distributed to anyone else other than me.
Yeah.
And every Saturday or Friday evening or Saturday, you get a report I guarantee you'll enjoy.
And I don't know that you've ever asked me for money.
One time, some people have asked me, gee, you know, you should have subscribers. You
Yeah.
should charge X number of dollars a year.
Yeah.
And that just isn't in my DNA, so it's free.
Yeah.
And then they said, well, you should ask for contributions. And I thought, contribution to the maintenance. No, oh, it's very expensive to put this report out.
Right.
And once a year, I just say, hey, if you want to send it, if you enjoy it, and you want to send in $10, that'll buy some gas when I go on my next birding trip
Yeah.
for photos. So
Yeah.
that's the way
There
it
you go.
works. No
Really
charge.
Low pressure and
No charge.
Yeah, no charge. So another topic we could talk about today is as the weather gets colder, we've been talking about birds who migrate to warmer climes, but some animals just stay right here and cope with the freezing cold weather. When I look at a robin out there and pecking through the snow, I'm thinking, it must be crazy. But they have protections more than we do. You've got your Montezuma Nature Wildlife Refuge, whatever. It's probably made out of recycled Coke bottles, by the way.
I have no idea. It's
Yeah.
the Montezuma National Wildlife Refuge in Seneca Falls,
Yeah.
which is about 15,000 acres of freshwater marsh.
Yeah.
And talk about migration. When these birds from Canada fly south, they're looking for places to rest and feed.
Right.
And these national wildlife refuges are an oasis for them.
Wow,
as
yes.
they do that.
Yep.
Yeah. But anyway, the robin's an interesting example of migrate or not.
Right.
Now, sometimes in the middle of winter, you'll see a robin in your neighborhood. Not commonly. Most of them are gone. But if there is a fruit source, let's say there's a crabapple, flowering crab in your neighborhood, and all the flowering crabs are not eaten up in the fall and they're kind of withering on the tree. If there's a source of food for robins, there certainly aren't worms in January,
Sure.
fruit,
Right.
they may stick around. But as a norm, anybody that's eats a worm is gone. Anybody that
Yeah.
eats a mosquito or a flying insect is gone.
Sure.
The only ones that stay in the bird world are seed eaters, because it's possible
They're always
to
seeds.
find seeds through the winter.
Yeah. And they keep themselves warm. I mean, they can cope with the winter because
Millions of years of evolution, Jeff.
Yeah. Yeah.
I gave a slide program yesterday, and I showed a picture of a lake effect snow squall that blew through my yard one winter, and just, you know, we've all experienced it. It's cold and it's clear and there's blue sky. It's 12 o'clock noon and puffy cumulus clouds, and then all of a sudden the northwestern sky over the horizon turns charcoal gray, and 5 minutes later you're in a blizzard.
Right. Right.
Lake effect. 10 minutes after that, there it is, blue sky again. But how does the whitetail survive? And I showed these pictures of a couple of whitetail does. And I've got a telephoto lens, so I don't have to be that close to get a really nice portrait shot.
Oh yeah.
And in these pictures, one is a head shot, and she's looking right at me, and there's snow all over her nose and her ears. And then I pull away, and the next shot shows the whole deer, and her back is covered with snow.
Oh, my.
And I asked the question, why is that snow not melting on a warm-blooded animal? And the answer is it tells us how they survive. They have 2 layers of fur.
Yeah.
The layer you don't see is it's like felt, and the layer you do see is made of thousands of inch-long hollow hairs. And you know, if it's hollow, it's got air in it,
Right.
and that is a real good insulator.
Yeah.
So when the snow falls, it's falling on a hollow hair that is, and underneath that is a felt lining, and none of that cold is penetrating.
Right.
And on the inside of that warm-blooded deer, all that 100-degree body temperature, none of that's escaping. So that deer can just curl up in a snowdrift and go to sleep.
Well, and we've seen that in our yard. Sometimes when generally if there's a foot of snow, for example, we'll get up in the morning and find these impressions where the deer have made beds in the yard. And so you'll see the tracks come over, the impression, the deer has been there for the night but left before the sun's up, and then they've gone off in the other direction. That's kind of cool, to think that you've provided a bedroom for the deer for the night.
Yeah.
Especially if you're not if you're not going to shoot them or something. So we have about 3 minutes left, and so very quickly, we've often talked about places to go now to experience a walk, a hike, an easy hike in the winter. Where would you suggest we go with maybe a little bit of snow on the ground and a safe place to hike?
Well, Jeff, you to me you look like you might be a senior citizen, and I know I am a senior citizen. So let's talk about old people, because there's a lot of us around. If I'm an old person and I want to take a walk, I'll go to someplace like the Vestal Rail Trail or Otsoningo Park, where they plow a blacktop flat surface and you can walk for miles. Yeah. Otsoningo offers you chances to look at the Shenango River up close. Maybe you'll see some hooded mergansers diving for fish under the Bevere Street Bridge or something along those lines. Rail trail is a good look for places like that are maintained. If you're lucky and it's not snowing, like now, we don't have snow on the ground, go to the Binghamton University Nature Preserve or any of our local parks. Sure. A very cool place is the Appalachian Marsh, where you can walk under a lane of Route 17 and see a huge marsh, or Waterman Conservation in Appalachian. All these places have trails. Yep. Yeah, we've done the Waterman with a little bit of snow on the ground. During the fall season, of course, when there's lots of leaves, you can hardly find the trail sometimes. But if you take a walking stick with you, to keep your balance and watch where you're stepping, but you have to step every once in a while to look. I mean, now that we're older, we're watching the ground to make sure we don't trip over a root or, trip over a rock. But every once in a while, you have to just stop where you are and just appreciate the beauty of the place around you. Absolutely. That's good advice. Yeah. Well, I'm full of good advice because, as you say, thank you for joining us for our program today. Rick Marsi has been our guest. Once again, the Marsi Report can be found at Marsi, Marsi, at stny.rr.com. Well done, Jeff. Well done. Pretty impressive, huh? And now, if I can remember my name, I'm Jeff Kellam, hoping that you'll join us again next week for Encounter. In the meantime, please be gentle with people and with yourself.